Well, we are going to go ahead and get started. But first, I'm going to go ahead and give the medical disclaimer. The information provided is for educational purposes and is not intended as medical advice or a substitute for medical advice of a physician or other qualified healthcare professional. We do not diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any illness or disease. And you should always consult with a doctor or other healthcare professional for medical advice or information about diagnosis and treatment. And the information presented in this presentation has not been evaluated by any medical body, such as the FDA. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Dr. Dori Narbo, and I am your host on today's call. For those of you who don't know me, I am a clinical researcher and an author of several books. Welcome to our product Q&A call. I know we always say that, but we never actually do a product Q&A call because it's always a topic that we always have a special topic. But anyways, welcome to the call. And I'd like to introduce Clayton Thomas, who is chairman and the founder of Root. Yes, we are going to talk about tattoos. We're just going to recap real quick. What we talked about last week was Testimonial Tuesday. And of course, we met with Rich, who told us about multiple sclerosis and how he was diagnosed 27 years ago. And he's only been on Clean Slate for a few months. And he has better sleep. He actually stopped taking his amitriptyline and is walking much further. And he just started with 1 drop and titrated up to 10 drops a day. Actually, probably taking it twice a day. So it had results just after a few days. And of course, we heard from Angel, who Claire and I did an interview. And for the very first time, she was actually able to get on not social media, but on Zoom, on a Zoom call. She's very, very sensitive to any type of electromagnetic EMFs, yes. And so again, she just started with 1 drop once a day, had immediate results. And then of course we met with, again, we saw Dr. Marina Carew, who gave testimonies about her family and testimonies from people within her group. So tattoo is booming. According to the market research, the tattoo industry is estimated to be worth $3 billion and is growing strong. In fact, tattoos are soaring in popularity, and the millennials are actually fueling the industry with thousands of tattoo parlors and studios around the world. Of course, I don't know how it is right now with COVID, if these places are being shut down because of it. But in the US alone, there were over 20,000 tattoo parlors and studios. So tattoos have certainly outgrown its bad reputation. We no longer live in a world where tattoos are seen as, mob bosses or hardened criminals. And today, society has slowly accepted tattoos as a work of art. And that said, it comes as no surprise that practically everyone from any walk of life has at least 1 tattoo, except for Claire and I. So in 2012, around 45 million people, approximately 21% of Americans alone have 1 or more tattoos. 35% of UK's citizens aged 30 to 39 have tattoos. 30% of US college graduates have tattoos. 11% of people with tattoos in the US belong to an age group that ranges between 50 and 64 years of age. And 30% of the armed forces, including military veterans, have tattoos. And today, tattoos are seen mainly in the younger generation. And according to an article called Are People with Tattoos Stigmatized in Psychology Today, 47% of millennials have tattoos in comparison to 36% of the Generation Xers and 13% of baby boomers. So this is just a slide of, the percentage of people who have at least 1 tattoo. And Italy is right up there at the top, Sweden, US, and then Israel all the way down the bottom. So can tattoos be considered art? Well, the new YouGov research conducted a survey and finds that majority of the people, 53%, think that tattoos can be considered art, whilst 32% say they cannot be considered art.
15% are still undecided.
Exactly. So here's a little tattoo history. So tattooing has been practiced globally since the Neolithic times, which is the final division of the Stone Age, right around the 1900 BC. And as evidenced by mummified preserved skin, ancient art, and archaeological records. Both ancient art and archaeological finds of possible tattoo tools suggest that tattooing was practiced by the Upper Paleolithic period in Europe, which is beginning about 40,000 years ago. And this was characterized by the emergence of the regional stone industries. However, direct evidence of tattooing on mummified human skin extends only to the 4th millennium BC. And so the oldest discovery of tattooed human skin dates back to the Otzi, the Iceman body, dating back between 3700 or 3370 and 3100 BC. And we'll go back to him later. But this is preserved tattoos on mummified human remains reveal that tattooing has been practiced throughout the world for many centuries. And this is a tattoo of a 3,000-year-old tattooed mummy. She has more than 30 tattoos scattered across her skin. So back in 2015, scientific reassessment of the age of 2 oldest known tattooed mummies were identified. Otzi as the oldest example then known, and this body has 61 tattoos, was found embedded in glacial ice in the Alps and was dated back to 3,250 BC. And in 2018, the oldest figurative tattoos in the world were discovered on 2 mummies from Egypt, dating back to 3,351 to 3017 BC. But Otzi, the Iceman here, died in the Alps around 3250 BC, held the world's title for being the oldest tattooed individual, and his markings were geometrical rather than figurative, as you can see by this slide here. And he had 61 tattoos in 19 groups, and they were comprised of, horizontal and vertical lines. And so the question was, the researchers were curious about this, whether or not these lines actually represented some type of therapeutic or diagnostic, like for example, like maybe he had arthritis or some type of, because he had tattoos, these groupings around the lower back and joints. So they thought maybe that he was actually suffering from some type of joint or spinal degeneration. And so what they found, well, they're not sure why they were grouped this way, but they did find some other markings that were on his chest, which can possibly indicate that they were probably that the theories could be wrong, and that they are more of symbolic and could be, entirely different. And also they had these crosses. He had crosses like behind his knees, like there's those 2 crosses there. He had those were behind his knees. So I thought that was pretty interesting how they have these lines here. So when we think about tattoos, we think of the different types of tattoos. And so we have professional tattoos. So when it comes to professional tattoos, they're done by renowned tattoo artists with the help of professional tattoo machines called tattoo guns. These tattoos are made with low risk of infection. They're often true works of art, and professional tattoos are permanent and difficult to remove because the tattoo pigments lie deep in the skin. So amateur tattoos are mainly the work of unqualified individuals who use needles and charcoal or ash beneath the skin surface. They're normally single colored and are placed more superficially. And these tattoos are often done with unusual substances. and can be under unsanitary conditions with the possibility of a high risk of infection. They tend to look blurry and fade quickly, and the price is telling, right? You get what you pay for. As you can see here, two corner pieces that don't fit together. And this is not supposed to be patience. So here they're saying here that this tattoo has accidentally got his piece mixed up with peas. And then of course we have tattoo
No
regrets.
regrets.
So on one side, 17% of those who have tattoos regret them. The most often reason, can you take a guess what that could be?
Clerical error.
X's.
Exactly, the name of another person. Yeah. Oh, and these are people here regretting their tattoos the most. India, Japan, they're the top 2 countries for tattoo removal.
And then the US.
Yes, and then these are paramedical tattoos or medical tattoos. They do not have a decorative purpose, but they are used for medical reasons. So medical tattoos are used to ensure that instruments are properly located for repeated applications of radiotherapy, for example, or for the areola in some cases of breast reconstruction. Medical tattoos are also used to convey medical information about an individual, and in skin tones to cover vitiligo, which, well, we know is a skin pigmentation disorder. So here's an example of tattoo. I think it's pretty interesting here. The first fingernail tattoo started off as a joke. The client was a man who had lost part of his 2 fingers in a construction accident. And he ended up at this tattoo parlor called the Eternal Ink Tattoo Studio and was asked for a fingernail design at the tips of his fingers. And so this is his way of making light of a bad situation. And so here is that example.
See, the question on that is, do you think he's tried to trim his fingernails since? Maybe not.
I don't think so. So here,
it's actually been an industry that's growing. It's growing quite significantly. I was reading an article about this a couple months ago about the growing medical tattoo industry because of like what you're showing for fingernails and other aspects. So I'm excited to see where this is going.
So this tattoo artist is quite well known. She does areola nipple reconstruction, and she's from Canada. And then here's an example of a floral bra. I mean, it really is some incredible work of art. And then we have cosmetic tattoos. So tattoos can also, have an aesthetic function, such as it's very popular cosmetic tattoos, permanent makeup, tattoo for your eyebrows. Like I said earlier, wanted to do the eyebrows, lips, eyes, even moles. They use natural colors. They're designed or intended to resemble makeup. So tattoos can also have an aesthetic function for, again, the eyebrows that we're looking at right now. It looks kind of painful, those needles, right?
Yeah, I don't understand how people can subject themselves to that, because what happens if hair starts growing back, or if you want a different shape?
Here. So tattoo needles with ink puncture the skin about 50 to 3,000 times per minute. And these needles go through the epidermis into the dermis. And the dermis contains blood, capillaries, sweat glands, nerve endings. And this is why tattoos are, well, they say sometimes painful, but I think they're always painful.
Yeah, there's no winning on that. You know, it's funny that people look at getting stabbed once and they think it's bad, but many people will electively go get stabbed thousands upon thousands of times, you know, for the sake of art and not understanding the long-term possible consequences.
Well, once the ink reaches the dermis, the immune system gets alarmed, right? So it deploys the macrophages. These are immune cells to help close the punctured holes. And since the tattoo ink is a foreign body, the macrophages, they start to gobble them up and an attempt to take them away to destroy them, but they get stuck in the gel matrix of the dermis and they stay there forever. So tattoos, according to Chronic Ink, can reduce stress. They explain that a person with multiple tattoos has lower cortisol levels, which is a stress hormone. So this happens because the body produces cortisol in an attempt to reduce the pain. So multiple tattoos result in cortisol hormone response to be less active. And that means less cortisol is produced, resulting in stress reduction. So does that mean that the more tattoos you have, the more stressed you are?
It very well could be if you ask my kids. I was going to pull one of them in here and he's like, I'm not doing this. You're going to use me as a negative example. Like
a negative example. Okay.
Well, and I think this is the important part to understand as well. And I've had this conversation with my kids because they're all artistic like their mother, at least the younger three are. The oldest one would not get near this. But the 21-year-old, who I was going to use as an example, wanted to, you know, get a bunch of different tattoos. He's put stuff on his hands, he's done stuff on his shoulders and his chest for different things, and trying to explain to them, it's like, look, you might do this artistically, but you will be judged for your appearance. So know that going in and accept the consequences.
You especially don't want it on your face, because this is like, if you're going to go for a job, you should see the statistics on that, because that's the number one place you don't want that. You don't want it, or employers don't like it, right? So is your ink safe? You know, getting a tattoo may have long-term consequences beyond just having to live with your ex-girlfriend's name on your bicep for decades. So according to a small study in the Journal of Contact Dermatitis, approximately 1 in 10 experience problems with tattoos, including infection, itching, swelling, and redness. And many people in the study had lingering complications for years. And other risks include needles and equipment that are not properly sterilized in an autoclave between customers, right? You could be exposing yourself to hepatitis B or C, tuberculosis, mycobacterium, syphilis, malaria, HIV, even leprosy. And if that wasn't enough, you're walking around with heavy metals injected into the body's largest organ, the integumentary system, the skin.
Which is one of your largest detox pathways, but you're doing it backwards.
Exactly. So here we go. Heavy metals are in the ink, right? Heavy metals are often present in colored inks. And colored inks can contain lead, cadmium, chromium, nickel, titanium. And these metals can trigger, as we know, allergic reactions, and in some cases can potentially lead to disease, as we've already seen. And then we have a list at the end of this to show you even more. So scientists are unsure of the exact effects. And so here are chemicals also in the tattoo ink. So some recent studies have been done to see if, the possible long-term effects of tattoo inks. And these studies are few and far between, but are the beginning of, really getting to know the possible skin and health reactions of tattoos. And some fairly common reactions of tattoo ink could, include allergic reactions, infections, inflammation from sun exposure, and of course, chronic skin reactions as well. And you see here they have, there's these phthalates, these benzopyrenes, and two of the most harmful chemicals present, both having been linked to cancer and endocrine disruptors. And of course, they can be found on your EPA's carcinogenic list. And black ink is made of soot containing products from combustions called hydrocarbons.
You look nice and tan. Yeah.
So what do you need to know about MRIs if you get a tattoo?
Oh, here you go. You get to glow in the dark.
Well, according to a 2011 report in a medical journal called Sports Health, one patient even received, you can get burns from tattoos while undergoing an MRI. So these compounds can theoretically create an electrical current that increases the local skin temperature enough to cause a cutaneous burn. And I've actually heard of people telling me that they've gone in for an MRI. So say, for example, they had their eyeliner, tattooed, and they said that their eyelids are almost got pulled off. So this is definitely something that you need to tell your doctor if you're going to have an MRI. If you have a tattoo, they need to be aware of it. So what happens is that what patients are reporting is this kind of pulling sensation of the tattooed skin because the ink contains pigments that are magnetic and interact with the MRI's magnetic fields. So tattoos also absorb energy from, they absorb the energy that would ordinarily be spread out and increasing your burn risk, according to the Max Planck Institute for Human Cognitive and Brain Sciences in Germany. So having said that, the researchers found that majority of the participants did not notice any side effects with tattoos. However, like I said before, you should always let your healthcare professional know if you have a tattoo before your MRI.
Can I add something to that? I don't know if I'm going to jump
Sure.
ahead, but the interesting component that comes with MRIs can also be applied to EMFs. And the people that believe that 5G and Wi-Fi are a problem aren't really understanding the true underlying issue, because the frequencies that we're exposed to, same thing with an MRI, is going to have a pass through in the body if we're functioning properly and if we're healthy. But if you have little antennas that you have in your system, i.e. metals and heavy metals, those heavy metals will react with the EMFs or with the MRI to, as Dory was touching on the MRI standpoint, they heat up, they cause problems. So the negative inflammation issues and the problems that people perceive to get from EMFs are not from the EMFs themselves. It's actually from the heavy metals that are in your toxic system that are reacting and responding to the exposure. So you have to really look at the causal factors. So then you can look at people that are tattooed. This would be something that's really interesting. The people that are tattooed, if they complain more about being sensitive to EMFs and 5G and Wi-Fi and 4G and radar and everything else. So
That's
quite
interesting.
intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Proceed.
Okay. So now we're going to look at safe alternatives to ink, because we always want to give solutions. Not just to tell you that they're bad, but we're going to give you some alternatives because we know you're not going to listen. Right? Okay,
Yep.
so this is the red ink here. So on the left-hand side is types of ink that you shouldn't use and the alternatives we give you on the right hand side. So iron oxide is known as common rust, and cinnabar and cadmium pigments are highly toxic. So then they've had fewer reactions have been reported with this naphthol red. It's a type of pigment here, but all reds, in general, carry risk of allergic reactions. And then we have purple ink. We have magnesium violet. These are again, those ones on the left are the ones you want to stay away from. This is the alternative here. And then we have yellow.
Oh, that's pretty.
And then we have
Stay away from the
yellow.
cadmium.
Exactly, cadmium yellow. That's right. Stick with the turmeric.
And we know, so here's something that we have to let everyone know. Don't start taking your zero in, putting it on your skin and start piercing to give yourself zero in tattoos. Let me do it first. It's my idea.
What? Okay. So let's see.
And this brings up the question. This brings up the question of tattoos and process, right? So you look on the left, and you can see lead, and you can see chromium, and you can see anadomys green and malachite. But if you can't pronounce the chemical or the product that you're going to put in your body, maybe you shouldn't do it. Because when you look at copper phthalocyanine, you go, if I can't pronounce that easily, maybe I shouldn't put it in me. But then again, maybe not so bad.
That's right. And that's the safe one. Okay, and look at this one, brown ink. There's no alternative for this because this is composed of iron oxides mixed with clay.
Everything mixed with clay is better, by the way. Ask Christina.
Yes, clay. I bet you thought that I didn't get that.
You can edit it.
I'll take that out. Okay, all mistakes are coming out. The bad thing is I got all the translators. They are translating in all these different languages. So all of these bloopers that we do, they have it, but it's in different languages, right?
Yep.
Okay, so here's black. Okay, well, black, avoid animal-based inks because they're often referred to as Indian inks. And it's better to use black ink that's derived from logwood or magnetite crystals. And
What?
yeah,
You can
so
get crystals?
iron oxide, magnetite crystals, it said.
Oh, there we go. See, now we're talking.
Now we're talking, right?
Christina and I are actually discussing getting a matching tattoo, but we want our kids to design a feather that has some symbolism inside the feather that we can do. And I've been doing some research on finding the right natural components to do it. And the one coolest thing, I don't know if we'll have it on here, there's a glow in the dark, and I forgot what the ink is, but it actually is not translucent, but it glows in the dark, which is quite cool. So then I can find her in the dark by her tattoo.
Okay. All right. So you know that the black ink is actually derives from animal bones that are burned down into charcoal.
And we've had the discussion on what you can find in animal bones based on their diet and their exposure and what's been chelated in bone.
Exactly. And then we have white. And as you can see here, there's lead, a lot of lead in white, titanium dioxide. barium sulfate, and there is absolutely no alternative for white.
See, and the adage goes, if it ain't white, it ain't right. But there's no way to do white well. And the titanium dioxide one is quite interesting because in some of the urine analysis tests that we've done, I've seen a bunch of women pop really high for excreting a lot of titanium. So it brought up the question of where the source was of a lot of this titanium, and it's whitening agents, and a lot of times in skincare.
Oh,
And so
really?
what women are putting on, and we know whitening is so popular now in different cultures that I don't know why I try to get dark to get back to my roots. But the titanium is one that was a double entendre.
You
But
got that.
being able to look good also can make your body feel not so good inside.
Well, and that's why we want to go to this slide here. Tattoo kinetics, right? The element that makes up the ink in tattoos travels inside the body in micro and nanoparticle forms that reach your lymph nodes. According to a study published in Scientific Reports, I mean, this is really serious. I mean, it's getting into your lymph nodes. It is the first time researchers have found analytical evidence of the transport of organic and inorganic pigments and toxic element impurities, as well as the depth of characterization of the pigments ex vivo in tattooed tissues. So if you look at this.
What does that mean to you, though? I mean, having toxins get into your lymph nodes, that's not so bad, right?
No, of course it is, because look at this here, right? Researchers here, look at this. This is skin that they actually have colors in the lymph nodes from the ink, right? They actually found that tattoo inks have stained the lymph nodes of the bodies that they tested here, meaning that the substances that make up tattoo inks don't stay put.
And no people were harmed in the harvesting of these tissue samples.
So, yeah, so it wasn't just the organic pigments that moved around, but they also found preservatives like aluminum, chromium, iron, nickel, copper that traveled into the lymph nodes as well. And they also found, they found heavy metals, including cadmium, mercury, both, of course, as we know, highly toxic. So that's pretty significant that it can go into the lymph system. We don't want that there. Okay, and these are tattoo associated diseases. So these are just a few that we've listed here with the references as well that you can look up.
The good part is when you look at that list, you go through the left side and you go, bacterial endocarditis, having bacteria in my heart that can cause my heart to stop. That's okay. But when you get down to the bottom and you go, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 types of cancer, anything over 5 is a little bit excessive. So you really have to pay attention, right? Don't poison yourself too voluntarily. But if you do, I'm going to let you finish, and then I'll hit on a couple things because we've done some testing with tattoos with Clean Slate.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, obviously you're naturally chelator here, the root product, and that's it for me.
So it's a perfect segue. Can you go back real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Go back one slide. So we'll hit on Clean Slate and why this is important. So Dory hit on the nanoparticles of heavy metals and stuff being injected into your skin when you do a tattoo. Well, guess what? Clean Slate also has nanoparticles, but there's a couple tests that we've had done here because of some colleagues getting tattoos, one of them being ex-military, and he has a lot of ink, whether it's for paying homage to some of his friends who died in battle, or adding to his hardware that he has on his arms and such. And we did some testing, so we know that the metals and toxins from a tattoo can get into your lymph, they can get into your bloodstream, so you want to use it orally. But one of the things that's actually even more important in the process, if you are going to get tattooed, is topical use. So if you take your Clean Slate, if you are going to get tattoos done, you get your tattoo done, they talk about the healing process and what happens when you have a tattoo, you have an open wound, and you want it to heal, but you also don't want environmental exposure to cause more damage. And using a little Clean Slate topically has proven to be very, very effective in binding some of the bad stuff in a tattoo. But it's so effective, it almost causes the wound to heal too quickly. But if you are going to do that, this is something you really want to use Clean Slate orally. And what I would do is use a bunch before you go in, and then I would use some topically when you get done, and then use a lot more orally when you get home, because it's something that we're exposed to. And if you want to get ink. It's kind of like me and corn dogs. Every 4 months or so, I know that I'm going to do some stuff to my body that's probably not the healthiest, but it makes me feel good. If getting some ink makes you feel good, don't be afraid to do it, but take some steps to make sure that you're doing things. But here's the even better part. Tattoo artists, they need this a ton. And you know what's even more important? They already know about heavy metals and how bad they are because they've been taught, but they don't have means of remediating this stuff. And if you go to a tattoo artist that doesn't have any tattoos, well, you're probably going to go find someone else. So they have a massive exposure in their own right. And you think of the channel of saying, great, you know what? I'm going to use this when I come see you, but you should try this stuff because you're loaded with all these metals that you've had put in your body. But this is something that you can do to all of your clients, or you can provide to all of your clients when they leave, that they can be in much better shape. So that's how we tie everything together. And I think there's a question from Verena. If you had a tattoo a while ago, should you use Clean Slate? Absolutely. But the big thing is this is just one additional exposure that we get to deal with, on top of everything else. And Julie, yeah, you look at a diagnosis of lymphoma, you go, a clue. So what else do we got? We've got a couple minutes, and it's my birthday, and I'm going to talk about aging here in a couple on the next one. Ooh. But here's what I want to know. How many tattoos does Harry have? And can we have a quick Harry chat?
Where is he?
He's here. I see him. I'm watching.
Oh, there he is. I see him.
I'll review.
He's laughing.
Hi. You put me on, okay?
Oh yeah.
Hey, happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thanks, brother. Talk to me.
So yeah, what do you want to talk about? I do have a tattoo. I must confess, I have a tattoo. I'm guilty.
When did you get it done? What was the significance? And that's a little bit of the question. How the hell are you feeling now? Because it's been 2 weeks. Are things a little bit different?
Oh yeah, man. Definitely. I even popped 3-0 in today this morning, and my God, a break too. It was phenomenal. But no, honestly, every time I take a Clean Slate drop, like I feel this. I want to ask you this question. I know it goes straight to the pineal now for everybody. As soon as you take that little drop, that Clean Slate goes straight to the pineal like no other medicine I've ever taken. And people watching this know that I do urine therapy too, and aged urine, and it's all weird to some people, and that's powerful. But I don't know why. I get a vibration shift straight away as soon as I take that drop, shifting consciousness. So to me, I know it's going straight into the pineal. How's it doing that, Clayton? What is it about this one that's doing it?
One, I think it's how it's charged in the function. Hold on, somebody's got to get muted. That sounds terrible. Was that you?
Me, no.
It's not me.
Anyway, no, hold on here. We're good. So the big thing with pineal gland is quite interesting. The pineal gland actually receives more blood flow than every other organ except the kidneys. So that little gland, so you look at the importance and the value of it. And when you start to put together, when I learned this a couple months ago, when I was really starting to study it, it was quite interesting because the pineal gland is part of the brain, but it's that little gland that actually sits on the blood side of the blood-brain barrier. So, and can we explain it yet? I don't think so, but when you look at how the body knows how to work with crystals and the fact that we're polarizing these crystals and making the charge even stronger, it's an area that is of crucial importance to our body having amazing healthy function. So if you're in tune to it, you can see that. I think, and it takes a little bit of focus. And I think that's the big part also with zero in, is using them in combination, that the development that comes in. Talk to me real quick about your zero in experiences, because you're playing the ukulele like a madman. And
yeah, that was 2
had
weeks
so
ago,
much
guys.
influence.
Yeah.
You've had so much influence in such a short period of time that Matt has started to grow out his beard and dress like you.
Jesus, no, I copied him. That's the funny thing. I copied Matt completely. Me and Matt are on the same thing. Yeah, we even have the same hats. That's crazy. But yeah, honestly, so there's a couple of things that I've got to remember, because we forget the benefits of all these things. When I took the zero in the first time, I got really present to the moment after taking 4 2 weeks ago with you. And the same happened on the 3 today. Now, at first, I felt like there was a caffeine high, not too jittery, and it was a bit unstable. But after an hour, I was doing work on here and I was much more present to the moment. Everything was like, I was here. And I rarely get that. That's again the psychedelic link with zero in, I think, when you take enough of them. So that was really interesting. I just felt amazing for 1, 2, 3 hours after taking a 3. And I forgot. And I love taking breaks from it too, because it reminds me of the power of this stuff, not to keep doing it continually. Take a break. So I can compare, and then I get back on it, take 3 or 4. And I actually challenge anyone here, or anyone you guys know that you're trying to, is interested in the product, to take, if they buy zero in, take 3 or 4 in one go and tell them, let's see if you notice any effects. Because everybody under the sun, if they take 3 or 4 in one go zero in, undeniable, your happiness will spike. There's no way someone's going to come back to you and say, I don't notice the difference, because people do when you're getting involved with this. Some people I'm getting taking Clean Slate and they're saying, I don't notice much of a difference. First of all, get them off it and back on it, or get them to drop 3 or 4 zero in, and then you'll know the truth of how powerful the zero in is.
So that brings up a fun conversation. So comparatively, you said with caffeine and coffee, and I had this conversation with Kreider, my 16-year-old, over the weekend, because he took 4, and we went to the mall because we wanted to go get some clothes for spring break. And we're in the mall, and he starts telling me that he wants coffee. It's like, I need coffee. And he's a little bit obsessive compulsive often. And that means a lot obsessive compulsive. But I looked at him and I'm like, dude, you don't need coffee. You had 4 zero in. He said, it's your compulsive nature that you think you need coffee. And he stopped and he looked at me. He's like, that's why I feel so good. I forgot, but yeah, I don't need coffee. I thought I wanted it because that's my routine. And Christina is actually the same way. She doesn't like drinking coffee anymore. She'll order it because it's a routine, but when she takes a sip of it, she doesn't want any more of it. And that's really the cool part of playing with your biochemistry. And, you know, that better living through biochemistry philosophy that we get to play with is like, and I feel so happy in telling my kids, like, okay, I can have you take 4 capsules. It's going to cost me about $5.20. It's less than a freaking latte. I know it's healthier. It's going to last them longer. They can pay attention. They don't stress me out. And it's winning. So well done, brother.
Yeah, can I just add quickly that I've been dead against caffeine my entire life, way before I got into physical health, because I was in fight or flight. However, with your 0 in, I am happy to take that dosage, even if it's 3 or 4, because what it does for the benefits, I don't get the jitters off it. And normally caffeine does. So well done for that. You figured out something there with it. It's really powerful.
Hey, it's what happens when men have much smarter women to work with.
Good evening, all. Can I just interrupt for a moment?
Of course you can. We're coming to Cyprus soon, brother.
Good, make it quick. Just get through quarantine control here. It's a very, very quick visit. I've got to get back to work. I've got a couple of Zoom calls, but I just wanted to drop by and say that I wanted to try and find a very old root in the building. I suddenly realized it's Clayton's birthday.
Aw.
How are you, matey?
All right. It's good to see you.
Like,
Things
happy
are
birthday to
good.
you. Huh?
Are you more pink than your shirt right now?
I'm always in the pink, you know me. I'm always beaming light of brightness, but no, I couldn't let the day go by without saying hi to my old buddy, and I've not forgotten you all. I love all my root buddies, but I've got a lot of stuff going on at the moment I'm trying to deal with business-wise. Yep. So I have to look after my baby. But
health is good?
Health is good. Health is very good, yes. To be honest with you, it's fine. I could do with losing a few more kilos, but comfort eating and sitting at my computer, stodging on whatever's available. So, hey, listen, I know I can turn it around. There's not a problem there. But,
Nice to see you, Mark.
Dory, God bless you. How are you, sweetheart?
I'm fine, thank you.
I missed you. My Skype still works, you know. You can still talk to me.
Okay.
Anyway, goodbye to everybody. Thank you very much. Clayton, enjoy the day and give my love to the family, huh?
Thanks, brother.
Cheers now.
Okay, everyone, it is time for the next call. Clayton, you have to go.
I'm going. I'm here. I'm double laptopping it. So join me on the other one.
All right.
See you guys soon.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.